Hello and welcome to episode 0 of The Intangibles, a new podcast here on Geekspective. I am one of your hosts, Kenny. Normally, I will be joined by my beloved brother, Matt, as co-host. But for episode 0, I just wanted to let you know what exactly this show is and why it's great, or at least listenable. Wow, really selling it well, Kenny. Great job. You're just nailing it, knocking it out of the park. I thought I would start with just addressing the question, what are the intangibles? What is the name of this podcast? So, I will tell you where this idea was born, its inception. It is incepted out of me and my brother sitting on the couch next to each other playing Overwatch, just passing the controller back and forth. We love Overwatch. We've played quite a lot of it, and we take it fairly seriously. And we would play, and at the end of the game, if you've never played before, you either win or you lose, whatever. There is a play of the game, so you get this big epic montage with swelling music showing somebody doing something amazing, or more often than not, getting a really cheap triple kill off of a diva bomb or whatnot. But then after that, you also get some accolades. So you get some different people, different players, and their usernames, and it shows this person did the most damage on their team. This person did the most healing. This person achieved this thing. This person had the highest energy on this champion. All kinds of stuff like that. And we just had this experience one night of playing Overwatch of every single time we won, we found that we were not on the board, which is a little bit disheartening when it comes right down to it. It seems to suggest, if you just accept that conclusion casually, it seems to suggest that you won and you played no role in victory. You were carried by your teammates. They dragged you like an anchor across the finish line. But it became kind of an inside joke between me and Matt where, look, you can't put everything on the board. It's not about the statistics. Sometimes it's about the intangibles. And that just became a running joke for us, the Intangibles. And it really just started with the name. I said, wouldn't it be funny to do a podcast called The Intangibles, where the whole premise is basically propping up our fragile, delicate, lace-like egos and talking about how there's more to games than just the stats. And what started as a joke has now become a full-blown project where we are making a podcast about video games. And in particular, we're tackling it from an angle that I think most people fall into, which is you're serious about games, you like to be good at games, you like to improve at games, but you may not be the best at them. And actually, I was having a conversation with a friend recently where we were discussing sort of where we played a game and we were at the best that we could possibly be. For him, it was Halo. For me, it was Smash Brothers. And for me, that happened in college where I played Smash Brothers on the Wii so much. Like every free moment, it felt like, was given over to playing Smash Brothers, grabbing any of my friends wandering the dorms and playing it. And I felt like, and do feel like, I developed some pretty intense skills. And among my friend groups, I was pretty good, still am. But I know for a fact that I would not stack up against the larger player base in the world. That is horrifying to me. But anyway, I think that's where most of us land. If you are serious about games, chances are you're not a pro. Chances are you're not at the top of the pile. Nevertheless, it's fun to talk about these games. It's fun to think about them. It's fun to try to optimize. And that's the way that we want to tackle it. We want to get into the weeds of what can make you a better player of specific games, but also in general. We want to, that's kind of where the intangibles comes from as well. We want to talk about specific games, and we will dig deep into specific games, but we want to generalize those into ideas that can be adapted and make you better across the board at a lot of different games. So some examples of what I mean by the intangibles, some specifics. So in League of Legends, one of my favorite games, my favorite game at the moment, there are stats that you get at the end of the game for the damage that you dealt, kills and assists, the amount of gold that you earned, all of these things. But, for example, there's no easy way to measure map awareness. In the game, there's a fog of war, and you can only see things that your teammates are near, or that your allied structures are near. But you have to be looking at this map and seeing where your enemies are going to be, and have an idea of where they're going. It's one of the most important skills in the game, and yet there's absolutely no way to measure that easily. And so this is a prime example of an intangible that you really would have to learn, but there's no easy way to quantify it. There's no easy way to show, especially a new player, how important this skill is. Or you can take Magic the Gathering. You can look at cards drawn, and that might give you some hint, or you can just look at win percentage. But Magic really doesn't have a ton of stats that are easy to track. Here's an easy one, a skill that you need to have that is very hard to measure. There's this concept in Magic the Gathering called playing to your outs. In other words, if you're behind and you're trying to win the game, you need to think about what cards, what series of plays could I imagine that would lead me to winning. And once you have a route to victory in mind, you then need to play as if you're going to get that, because that's the only way you're going to win. There's no point in playing if you're not optimizing for that one route that's going to give you the victory or a chance at victory. Or, for example, in Dark Souls, one of the skills that I think is very important, especially for newer players, and I mess this up all the time, is when you're in a boss fight, it can be so tempting once you get a boss's health bar really low to just run in, guns blazing or swords blazing, and try to get that last few hits. And there are so many times where you're just on the verge. It's like your 20th time fighting a boss, and you have them almost down. And you're like, I just need to hit them one time, and they combo you out, and you lose from there. It's really hard to measure that, but it's an important skill. So these are the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about. As far as the show itself, we've got a number of different segments that we'll be tackling in any given episode. We've got the play of the game, where me and Matt will nominate someone or something. Could even be an abstract concept or a fictional character. It could be one of us, it often is. But we're nominating someone or something in the world to receive the honor of play of the game for that episode. And we typically give the nod when it is an intangible play of the game. So it's not enough to do something amazing. There's plenty of recognition for people who do amazing things. We want to honor the people who are making the intangible plays. We also have a segment called The Meta. And in this one, we typically will be catching the listener up on the meta in whatever specific game is really tickling our brains at the moment, which at the moment for us is Overwatch and League of Legends. So we'll be talking a lot of Overwatch and League in these, but again, with a mindset of thinking about how to apply these ideas beyond the specific game. We have level ups, where we take a simple concept and talk about how it can make you a better player, kind of the same way I was talking about playing to your outs or having patience. We have the FAQ, where we will answer a listener question in detail. And finally, the big segment, we have the breakdown. And in this, we do a deep dive into a specific topic. Sometimes it will be a specific game, maybe a new game that we're playing, maybe an old game that we are deeply nostalgic for. It can also be for a broader concept. So here's some examples of some topics that we'll be doing early on in the show. 3D Pinball Space Cadet, design creep or complexity creep, which is the idea if you're designing a game, the longer it goes, the more complex things get, and that it's not necessarily a good thing. Sonic Mania and Sonic the Hedgehog in general, very important games for me and Matt. We talk about boss fights, what makes a great boss fight, what makes a really annoying or frustrating boss fight. We've got lots of examples of those. Getting over it with Bennett Foddy and difficulty in video games. We've got lots of different things that we want to talk about. So we hope that you will join us. You can check out episode 1. If you are listening to this episode 0, fresh off the presses, you will only have to wait a couple of days for episode 1. Otherwise, it's already up. You can go check it out, give it a listen. Thanks for joining me today. Like I said, Matt will be joining us next time. I'm Kenny. You can find me at Volfmyr on Twitter. That's VOLFMYR. And if you just mark it with the hashtag #TheIntangibles, I'll be sure to note that. Again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.